with you guys. Bring the damn
My
phaser
gift
thing.
is my
Shut up, Sean.
song.
God damn it.
All right, you guys gonna get a little weird right now? You guys gonna get some trippy shit going on here?
This is the best beer ever, and I don't
Roxanne!
Okay, Sean, don't, because that's a beautiful cinematic
No,
moment.
it's fucking terrible.
Dude, that was pretty dope, dude.
You got one? Are you ready? Are you ready for this? Soul
Luis.
Sister, hey sister. Welcome to another episode of Three and a Half Gentlemen, the podcast, where three of the four hosts provide a refined and intellectual analysis of movies from our private collections, and one of us tries desperately to keep up. We'll let you decide which host is which, but for now, my name is Sean, and with me, as always, are my bohemian co-hosts, Jeremiah,
Gitchy, gitchy, ya, ya, da, da.
Eddie,
Love and loved.
and Brandon.
The greatest thing in life you'll ever learn is just to love. And
That
be
was a
loved in
great
return.
John Leguizamo, dude. That was good.
This season, we
I
decided
know,
that
thank you.
each host will pick a film from each decade, from the 70s to today, that exemplifies that time period. Some of the films will be underrated, some classics, while others will be overrated piles of cinematic crap. To
Point
finish
break.
off each decade, the host will have a group pick that wraps up the decade in style. As with every review we give, our goal is to answer one simple question: how many drinks does it take to get through the film we've just watched? At the end of the podcast, we'll rate the movie based on a scale of 0 to 5, 0 being the perfect film that you can watch stone cold sober, and 5 being the sort of film that you'd rather sell your body to the night than finish.
Hey, wait,
Oh, that's a good
wait.
one.
That's really
That's a good
good.
one.
But you don't have to put on the red light, yo.
Oh.
In addition to our review, we always pair our selection with a cocktail that we hope will enhance the viewing experience. This season, we want to focus a little more on the cocktail, so please feel free
Oh,
to
shit.
shake, stir, and mix the cocktail that we've chosen and settle in for what we hope will be an engaging review. You know, Brandon, I do not appreciate you running down that line every single other
go
week.
ahead.
You're just making me pissed off. With that, what movie do we
Go
have
with that,
bringing Perry to us this evening, gentlemen?
Jeez,
Listen, I'm
bro.
going to say next season we need to actually come through, and when we say that we're going to focus a little bit more on the drink, let's actually focus a little bit more on the drink and talk about it.
We have been talking
want
more
us to
about
s-
it.
you want
We've
us
been
to
Oh,
drinking.
no, we talk about it.
We've been
introduce
doing
the
weird
the
things,
cocktail.
Brandon.
So tonight we have our third selection from our 2000s films. It's Jeremiah's 2001 pick, which, by the way, Jeremiah, I'm just going to go ahead and just come up on the beginning and say, great pick.
Brandon, look at me.
And that is Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge.
I don't know if that's a compliment or a fucking like threat, but
Well, he
no,
likes
it's
the movie
not
The
a threat.
Fountain,
It's-
so
it's
take it with a grain of
absolutely-
salt.
Yeah. Jerry, you and me, we like the fountain. I love it.
yes, we do.
So listen, we've got this. I'm not gonna put this. Sean, you can't write the fucking script. This quasi musical is rated a 7.6 on IMDb. It has a
Hey.
critic score of 76%, which should be more like, I'm gonna say 88%.
Better than Home Alone? Bullshit.
And okay,
Bullshit.
now we have to start over, Ed, because we haven't done Moulin Rouge, or we haven't done Home Alone yet, have we?
Oh, sorry, you're right.
No, we actually have.
We have.
Yeah, good job, like Home Alone.
Okay, go again.
And an audience score, that's right, 89%.
It's called breaking the
89%,
fourth
Sean,
wall.
on Rotten Tomatoes. So this film pairs an unorthodox song with stunning visuals.
No,
And it's seen
it
as a
pairs
celebration-
unorthodox songs with stunning visuals. If you'd
No,
read
just one
this
song.
before,
He's drunk. He's drunk. That's the issue.
Drunk.
He's drunk.
I gotta get up. I gotta teach a class at 7:30 tomorrow.
I gotta get up at 4:30, so shut it.
That's what time I start my class tomorrow for you. Anyway, this film pairs unorthodox songs with stunning visuals, which is seen as a celebration of love and creative inspiration.
Yes.
It takes place in the infamous, gaudy, and glamorous Parisian nightclub at the cusp of the 20th century, also known as the 1900s, where a young poet, played by Ewan McGregor, is plunged into the heady world of Moulin Rouge
Moulin Rouge.
and begins a passionate affair with the club's most notorious and beautiful star.
the sparkling
Nicole Kidman,
diamond.
Which, by the way, I'm going to take this moment because I know that this moment is all mine to say Nicole Kidman, god damn, she's hot in this movie.
She was beautiful.
She's beautiful.
yo.
She is
The
beautiful.
only
The
plus
cast-
of the movie.
Oh my gosh.
And the first shot has been Thrust.
The cast is rounded out by Jim Broadbent, Richard Roxburgh, and John Lucas.
Hey, Professor Slughorn.
Professor Slughorn and Moriarty from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Just shut
Jeremiah,
up.
take us through first impressions.
Before we get into our cocktail selection, we need to talk about whose film this is, and additionally, what our first initial impressions of the movie were before sitting down to watch it. Since this is my film, I will go and actually talk about it. Now, in 2001, this movie came out. I had nothing to do with this movie. I was just like, no, it's not an indie film. Who gives a shit?
Movie, yeah.
And seriously, that song,
Hey, sister, soul, sister,
that song was played everywhere to the point where it was like, I hate this fucking movie. It just had this hate about it. I saw this movie early this year for the first time, and dude, I've seen maybe. Let me rephrase that. I've seen parts of this movie. Let's just leave it this way. I'm not a Baz Luhrmann fan. I just he's too fucking,
as we saw with
he's just too fucking crazy. However, I didn't know this was a love letter to music in this film, and I really enjoy the shit out of it, regarding to that type of theme. However, we're gonna dive really deep in this and how crazy this Cloverfield type of a film this was. So, Eddie, please, what was your first impression?
I was kind of excited. Sean, yours.
So I remember watching this when that song came out, right?
Biggest
I
song
remember
ever.
that it was the biggest song. What was it? It was
Christina
Pink.
Aguilera.
It was
Una
Christina
Mujer
Aguilera. It was
I know Missy Elliott was in it.
no
Christina
Lil Kim.
Aguilera.
Lil Kim was in
Christina
that
Aguilera.
one, dude.
It was
Oh, it's
Christina
Lil' Kim?
Aguilera, Pink, Lil Kim, and one more.
Was
There
it
was-
Pink?
It was one more, yeah.
Myra, I don't know.
No.
Mariah Carey? You trying to say no?
No, it's okay.
I'm gonna have to look it up. Anyway, I remember watching this movie and kind of liking it, and then when you had suggested, I'm like, oh, I remember that was just like loud, and the songs were like mashups. It was like really cool. So I was really looking forward to sitting down and watching it. And then I turned on the TV. But Brandon.
So this is a song, and I don't know what's the song.
It's
It's
not
a
a song.
movie. It's been a long hour. This is a movie that I had absolutely no interest in seeing, and so I waited until it came out in Blockbuster, and I went over to Blockbuster, and my family was like, let's go get this movie. And I said, no, I don't want to see this movie. I remember watching it back in whatever it was, 2000 and probably two, and just being caught off guard. It was the first Baz Luhrmann that I've watched. Since then, I've seen three of them. Embarrassingly, I've not seen Romeo plus Juliet.
That's the best one.
I own it.
No.
Technically, I have not seen it yet, but I've seen Australia and I've seen Great Gatsby. And we've already talked about Great Gatsby, but from what I've seen, the three that I've seen, this is hands down the best. And I'm not going to say the best. I think that this movie has traces of brilliance. I think that it does. It dances with brilliance.
It flirts with brilliance.
It dances with it because that makes more sense with the movie.
Eddie, take us through the.
Anyway,
Oh, sorry.
shut up, Sean.
Sorry.
This is my
I thought you were
first
done.
impression.
I thought you were done.
This is my
thought you were done.
This
That's my
first
first
impression ever.
This is my first impression. Literally, this is a movie that I remember loving, and I haven't seen in years. I remember in grad school I had to watch it again because we were studying La Boheme, and it was an intertextuality class. I'm not going to bore you guys with that, but basically,
I'm already bored with it.
the overlapping of
Where does this movie belong?
storylines. Okay, it's my time, and I haven't seen it since then, which is basically 2010. So I've taken off basically 10 years of watching this movie. And I watched it again the other day, and I'm not going to go ahead and give it away, but I'm just going to say that this movie, it holds up in certain parts and it lets down in certain parts. But what it does is it gives you something completely unique and something completely unexpected. And I'm really excited to talk about this.
Save it
even
for
if
the
I am
review.
drunk.
All right.
It's smart, but I'm going to.
Eddie, take us through the cocktail.
Jeez, bro. You say enough over there? God, I liked my first impression. I was excited. Hey, sister, soul sister. All right. So as we mentioned earlier, with each movie, we try to pair the tone, feel, and overall impact of the story of a cocktail. This season, we really want to stress the cocktail and more, and how it links up with the movie selection. Everyone who listens knows that when we finally watch a Bond movie,
We will watch a Bond movie.
We shall not ever.
we
watch
will
a Bond
pair it with a
movie.
vodka martini, shaken not stirred with a lemon pill. I hope we don't even do that drink when we do the Bond movie.
We'll do a Heineken.
Yeah. But tonight's
talking about.
cocktail was chosen by
That's
Jeremiah.
dope.
But tonight's cocktail was chosen by Jeremiah. So
Yes, it was.
He'll be taking us through the cocktail.
Yes, it is. Tonight's cocktail is the Green Fairy. Now, if you watch the movie, Out of nowhere, a green fairy came up in this movie. So.
I thought I was high for a moment. I was like,
when you're that,
who the hell is
high,
that?
You go ahead and think about that.
Well, in the movie,
it's Kylie freaking Minogue.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I thought it was. What's her face? I thought it was
It's Kylie
Nicole Kidman.
Minogue.
You thought no, it's the
It's
British
Kylie Minogue.
star,
Australian.
Jesus, I need.
Wait, is Baz Luhrmann Australian?
Yes.
I was being funny. Keep going.
While in the movie, this cocktail is depicted as a form of straight absinthe and cause the drinker to hallucinate. Our cocktail is something that is reimagining. It takes the color and base of the cocktail drunk in the movie, tones it down so we can finish the review.
Ciroc vodka, VO, cherry, abstinence.
To make
Yeah,
the
you're gonna
Green
go on this
Fairy-
one.
To make the Green Fairy, you need Ciroc vodka, Verveau, Carré,
Oh, we're
absinthe,
dangerous.
Abstinence. Abstinence?
chartreuse,
Or abstinence?
lime, cucumber, and
And a
mint.
little mint. We ask you to be careful with this one, or else risking going home with the wrong Duke. Ooh.
Ooh.
For a complete
I would love
recipe,
to go home with the wrong Duke.
visit our website at thegentlemanpodcast.com or the Instagram at the dot means a lot, Gentleman Podcast. So, gentlemen, let's just get fucking weird right now.
Okay, so we're
I'm
in.
already
Whoa,
there.
drink.
My God.
Oh, drink. Sorry.
Drink.
I have to drive.
No, we're just gonna take we're gonna take a flight. In my brain.
Oh God.
So when I turn on this
I've
movie,
always and I've finally tried absinthe. So thank you guys.
So the fairy is fluttering, and this is
Is
not
this happening
good.
right now?
This is not good.
Is this happening right now?
Brandon, I thought you were in Connecticut. Why are you sitting right next to me?
Oh my God! All right, I'm sorry. That's just not a good cocktail. You know, you want us to talk about a cocktail, but
You know what? I feel like Jeremiah's are always bad. We
no,
had
coffee and cigarettes were legit.
Thank you.
No,
it was
I'll
fucking
always-
great.
I still
Always
have the
remember.
Lafray Scotch right
Yes,
there.
he does.
I've
He
been-
has Lafray.
I've been
And my
nursing
It drink is classic.
Oh, the
you guys
It
may
drink
not like
was-
the movie,
the
but
movie
the It
was
drink
a
is
train
fucking
wreck.
great.
I'll give you the Ed drink, but I'm going to tell you right now, coffee and cigarettes, it still haunts me. I wake up in the middle of the night scratching at my tongue.
You're an East Coaster
Trying to
now.
get it
You're
off.
from the East Coast. That's like that's the way of life right now.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
so
no.
let's dive into the movie. I have a feeling it's going to be a relatively short podcast.
So
So
no, we're already 6 minutes in.
we've got 1900s Paris. We've got these old titles, and one of the things about Baz Luhrmann that I really
no,
do
we don't have the old titles, Sean. We have the beautiful conductor.
Yeah, that was crazy.
front
I've
of
never
the
seen anything
red-
like that before.
We haven't. You know what? Jeremiah fucking said it. We haven't seen anything like that.
The person
So you
is-
have seen stuff like this.
No.
You just haven't watched these movies. This is straight out of the 1930s and 1940s.
Yeah, but it was an
is-
introduction to
I
our
agree with
time.
you.
Intro.
I agree with you,
It's
but
the
this
intro,
is
Sean.
I know it was.
And then it goes right into the sound of music. You're like, what the fuck is
The
this?
hills are alive.
So is there anything about the war
alive.
around
Oh,
that
no.
time?
What?
Is there anything about the war, Civil War? It says you said 1930s, 1940s. Like, does it time up with World
No,
War II?
no. This is 1900s.
Oh, you said 1940s
No,
to
I'm saying
1940. Because it was the 20th century.
The introduction
Introduction.
is like
Oh.
from movies in the 1920s.
Bro.
and 30s.
Right, but
Sorry,
you
so-
can't you can't. I mean, literally, we talked about Great Gatsby. And
What I'm saying is, you said
so we
you've
can't
never
do
seen
that.
this before. It's like you've never seen it, but it's not new. It's
I was
just like the
confused. It's
Star
new.
Wars
I
crawl.
was
is not
so
new.
confused as Sound of
It's new.
Music was
Anyway,
popping up
It's
out of
new.
nowhere.
No,
then,
I want to
yeah.
talk about this simple fact that I got a text out of nowhere yesterday, out of nowhere, literally, with Sean just saying, "This movie." And I'm like, "What movie are you talking about, bro? Home Alone?" I don't know. And I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, he's talking about Moulin Rouge, and you gotta put your hatred on check, bro.
I'm gonna put my hatred on full display. The first 30 minutes of this movie is a fucking assault on your.
No, I'm
It
gonna
is.
say-
Thank
here's
you.
what-
Brandon.
No, here's what I'm
Thank
Brandon,
you.
here- no,
Unlike
no,
you,
here's-
I can actually describe why I hate something. It's because it was not only loud, but it was poorly acted. You didn't know what the fuck was going on. You're in that apartment. You
I
have
disagree.
Ewan McGregor. You can disagree all you want. I'm saying for the
I'm
normal
going to.
human being, it was
No.
not funny. It was hard to follow. You had bad acting from John Leguizamo. Horrible plot development. For the first 30 minutes, I felt like I was watching like a
That's-
circus.
No,
Like
no,
a
no, no.
fucking circus.
Yeah,
You
that-
just- okay, you- wait, you
that's
just- you
exactly
just did
what I
it.
was about to
That's
say.
it.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a
Because
circus. It's a crazy time, and you're actually being brought right in the cusp of this fucking crazy evolution weirdness that's happening. I'm not a fan of it. Don't get me wrong.
No,
I had no idea what the hell was going on for 40 minutes.
Here's the thing.
I was so confused.
Baz Luhrmann does this, and he does it better than anybody else I've ever seen. Is that he intentionally makes us feel uncomfortable. He throws us right into the middle of the story, and he makes us feel uncomfortable. He does this in Australia. I don't know if you've seen Australia.
I have.
But that's a serious movie that for the first half hour of that 3-hour movie, we feel uncomfortable. We have the frenetic editing. We have the camera movement that literally goes everywhere. We have the costumes. We have the acting, which is over the top. What it does is it makes us feel uncomfortable. And then what it does, without us realizing it, is it settles into this super slow story that makes us care about the characters in the story.
I can always tell when you like the story.
Brilliant. It's so, but here's what it is. It's iconic, but it's so him. Now we did Gatsby. He does the same exact thing with Gatsby. I don't like Gatsby as a story, as a movie. I love it as a story, but I hate it as a movie. Moulin Rouge is something completely different, something completely unseen. This is his first real jump into the mainstream, and the fact that he was able to get this movie made and to be made in this way is
game changer, dude. It was a game changer.
I mean, I couldn't imagine
it's a
being at
music
that
video,
pitch.
what it
I couldn't
is.
imagine being at that pitch meeting when Baz Luhrmann's like, "Okay, for the first 30 minutes, we're gonna make the people want to leave the theater." I'm sitting down watching this movie, thinking, I am not going to make it through. I can't watch this assault on my senses. I don't know what's going on. The acting is so fucking terrible.
Wait, what acting?
But you
John
said it,
Leguizamo,
you said it.
Ewan McGregor.
He's
Oh,
giving us-
no.
No.
Ewan McGregor
The
was
first 30
fucking
minutes,
good in this
shit,
movie, dude.
Hold on. The first 30 minutes of this movie they're not good. And stop, let me talk, because you had your
You're
moment.
wrong.
We understand why you think it's good. I don't. I think it's trash. I think the camera moves to the point where I was getting sick. You had the setup of characters in Satine, who basically is a whore with tuberculosis, and the poet. You have Bohemian Paris. You don't fucking burn the city down. I'll just stay on the outskirts in my chateau. I don't like anything about what was going on in the first 30
It
minutes.
is giving us
You
what
had
the
fake
fuck.
and cardboard sets. There was no context to the movie. There was no dropping
It's
in. It was
music.
all okay.
No, the context is basically it was a fantasy, and in your fantasies and whatnot, that's basically what it is. You know, are you the person that's going to be stuck in some type of a reality, something coming into a fantasy, or are you going to be a part of that fantasy? And you see that in the beginning of the introduction. Now, mind you, I'm not trying to support the crazy directing style of Baz Luhrmann. He's an acquired taste to some people. It's fucking crazy. It's like Cloverfield times 20. When you're watching all this stuff, but in the same time, you're getting this whole this different universe of what's happening during this time, and I really think it sets up the vibe of what this movie is. You're saying how he was able to pitch this. I think what he did in this movie, and mind you, change how we look at musicals going forward. Because after
He's giving us a music video.
yeah,
That's what he's doing.
after this, everybody wanted to do a musical because he was able to bring down that wall. Because before this, what other musical you had? Newsies? I mean, seriously. And this
Sound of
movie,
Music.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, all the Rodgers and Hammers team.
Grease.
Forgive me on this. Forgive me on this.
Grease.
Okay,
It's
wait, what
still-
I was trying to say
everyone's
is
saying
that
they were late.
musical at that time, the musicals was a dying breed. No, I'm just saying. At that time, can you mention another movie that was actually something like this?
No, musicals died
Musical
out. And I
died out
understand-
and
I
actually
understand.
introduced it into another type of
But
a
here-
millennial generation.
And here's my problem with the whole movie is that once you hit Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, once you hit the Nicole Kidman performance, which I think was when it finally got to a point where I could breathe in the film.
You laughing because you cannot agree.
I enjoyed a lot of the interaction.
No. I'm not saying directing the style was fucking wonderful. I was literally watching this hand. I'm just like, I can't look at the fucking screen right now because it's like I'm gonna get a fucking seizure for a moment. You know, it's this light. But then I'm like, okay, that's what the vibe was during that time, and this is what his story is telling you what he was brought into.
It almost seemed like he was telling the story, and before he was telling the story, he was on acid and writing it so freaking fast. He was having flashes in his head, right? Of him typing out the
You
story.
just had a moment of clarity.
But
Yeah,
then
no.
you had like spots through the movie where I think, I like Richard Roxburgh. I think he's a great actor. He was the most overacted, horrible character.
Was he the villain?
Oh, but
No,
then
but
you got to Jim Broadbent, and
everybody's
Jim
overacted.
Broadbent was worse. No, I don't think
here's-
Ewan McGregor overacted. I don't think Nicole Kidman overacted.
No,
I think
okay.
everyone apart from those two characters was trash.
But
Even
that's
Jim?
the thing.
Because Jim was
But
fucking
hold on.
great.
Jim Broadbent was just
Oh,
over
he
the
was
top
great,
and
dude.
terrible.
Ziegler is. Here's the thing. Ziegler is overacting. The Duke Roxborough, he's overacting. The whole point is that this is an over the top. Yeah, Jeremy's right. It's a fantasy. It's an over the top fantasy. What they're doing, and he's giving us this half hour of what the fuck is going on. He is intentionally making us feel uncomfortable. He is intentionally overloading our senses.
Well, he should have
Okay, I mean,
intentionally made me want to watch the rest
Look,
of the
I could
movie.
watch this movie and pretty much start on hour 1 and be probably more happy and just miss the first hour.
Exactly. That's exactly right. When you get to A Diamonds Are a Girl's
That's how
Best
I
Friend,
felt.
and you have the original, because I think the bones of the movie are super clever, right? You've got Satine and you've got Ziegler,
Smells
who
like
are
Teen
trying
Spirit.
they're essentially trying to court the Duke, so the Duke invests in Moulin Rouge, which I think is fucking hysterical, by the way, because if you're a true bohemian, you don't need a rich guy to invest in your art.
I
Like
don't
that.
think, wait.
That's the fucking
wait,
stupidest thing.
Did I get mixed up with that? I thought they were trying to court Satine to be a part of their musical.
They're trying to get the money.
They're trying to get the money for the musical from the Duke.
Yeah.
From Richard Roxburgh. So that to me is the most hysterical irony
Pause
of the
your
movie
video,
is that
Brandon.
the bohemian people who only care about art and music and love, they are doing everything they can to get the money from the rich person in order to put on their production. I think that's ironic and funny. Anyway,
I
being
think
said,
that's part of the purpose, Sean.
no, and I'm saying the bones of this movie are very clever. So you've got the mistaken identity with Ewan McGregor and is he the Duke, and then you've got that wonderful music mashup session right in the middle of. I think it was actually a song that was written for. Was it written for this, or was it an amalgamation? Come what may.
Okay, so that song was actually written. Okay, it's an original song.
Okay.
But it was written for Romeo and Juliet. And so
Okay.
when it actually got brought into the whole like Oscars and whatnot, it did not get a chance to get nominated because you can't use another song from a previous film or whatnot.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like a bullshit rule. It's kind of like the whole like There Will Be Blood when Johnny Greenwood did the score, and the score was fucking amazing. But because he did it because they used it from a different film, he didn't get nominated.
Oh, wow.
So it's a great fucking song. That song was really good, by the way, man. I
I
love.
do want to talk about how it is Ian McGregor.
Ewan McGregor, yeah.
His voice, outstanding.
Dude, he
Like,
has a voice.
he has-
and I remember reading this line.
He's a very talented man. I've realized in this movie is like, okay, this guy ran with it, and for me, he stole the movie a little bit because I enjoyed watching him. I felt like
Sean, go ahead and dispute, Sean.
No, we talked about this before. I think he has really good pitch. I think he doesn't have a lot of power. I think that you can tell he's got a great voice. Don't get me wrong. He's got a very good voice, but you could tell that he's not a singer. So if you look at a movie like Mamma Mia, perfect example, okay? Pierce Brosnan, he's not a great singer, but his voice sounds really good when you listen to it. It sounds like it fits in. Same thing here. Ewan McGregor fit into these songs and really played off of, I thought, what's her name? Nicole Kidman's voice really well. And I bought their love story. I thought their love story was legit.
was
I thought it
fantastic.
came a little fast.
Two things here. One, actually, the person who was supposed to be cast for this movie was Leonardo DiCaprio. And he was all ready to go and ready to think, but the problem is that he couldn't sing.
Why is your Brandon? Why is your video off?
Because I want you to think about me. Because here's the thing: it's not about the. I don't want to sound like super corny, but it's not about the quality of his voice. It's about the passion behind it. It's literally about how he sings, whether it's quality or not.
And he knocks it out of the park. I'm telling I really there's a lot I can say negative about this movie. His voice is not one of them. Nicole Kidman's voice is not one of them.
Yeah, I agree.
I will say that one of my favorite, and I'm skipping around a lot because one of the things I hated was the use of slow motion. It made me sick.
I'll agree.
But then,
But
when they have their beautiful scene, which I think is one of the best scenes of the movie, is when they're going back and forth with love song lines, and they're one of the things that this movie did so beautifully, and it does fit into our podcast mandate because I do believe a show like Glee came directly from this movie.
I think a lot of these films that we've been watching, like this new kind of like second start of musicals,
Yeah,
like
The editing style,
just
100%.
yeah. I mean, like you don't get La La Land or The Greatest Showman
The mashups,
or yeah.
the mashups of songs and of lines, like it was so clever because every line that they were singing back and forth to each other, like you could recognize from great fucking love song, love song.
Remind me of the show Riverdale. I feel like the Riverdale took a little part of this.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, these are the songs that mashed it up right here, right? It was just like what the fuck is this? It's that song and that song. They did Beatles, All You Need Is Love, to I Was Made to Love You by Kiss, to One More Night to Phil Collins, and then they went to U2, Probably the Name of Love, and then they went to I Will Always Love You from Dolly Parton, and then they went to Heroes by David Bowie, and then Your Song by Elton John.
Well, and that's the thing is go ahead. Sorry, Brandon.
No, I was gonna say Your Song to me, it carries so much weight to it in this movie that I don't care. I know that Elton John's version is great, but it doesn't hold a candle to Ewan McGregor's poorly sung version of this because it carries so much emotion behind it.
I don't think it's fair to say it's poorly sung. I don't think that's true. I do
think that Ewan McGregor's voice is not quality, but what it is it's full of emotion,
and it has good pitch. He hits the notes. He just can't deviate from the notes.
And,
right? No, absolutely.
And when you guys are saying like the love story, like it kind of happens too fast. This is the first time the man that Christian didn't like lust for her. He was trying to like show the inner self of him, and he was able to actually connect with that person inside.
Well,
that
I think that
Satine knew that this person was, saw her for the first time.
But remember, this is the first time that he's been in love. He tells us that, and this is the first time that she has met somebody who didn't automatically, immediately want to fuck her.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a huge thing.
Yeah. You also have this undercurrent, which I think is wonderful in the story of the story that they're telling in their play. So you have kind of the thing, the
which is
life,
just a show of them,
right? Life is mirroring art, and you've got the Duke trying to control it. But I will say that I'm constantly distracted in this movie by the visuals. I don't think they match what I think is otherwise a good story. Where I think that the visuals, I wish that they had done more visuals like this in Gatsby and less shitty story. Then I don't know. There's some disconnect. To me, there's a disconnect that Baz Luhrmann has between his visuals and his story. And he can't find the right amount of crazy to go along with the story. I think there's a problem.
I'll agree with you. I think that Gatsby is a great story on its own. It doesn't need the Luhrmann
treatment.
Crazy.
The treatment.
It doesn't need the Luhrmann treatment. I think that Moulin Rouge, though, and I do, and this is a hypothetical, and I might be totally wrong, but I think that if this was told in a more traditional manner, I think it'd be a boring movie. I think it would be something that we don't really care about. Now, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and it's going to be reflected in my score. He goes too far at the beginning. The beginning with the dwarf, they start singing "The Hills Are Alive." Like, to me, that's almost to the point where I'm like, yeah, I do want to almost turn it off.
Yeah,
but what it does is it roots us in this world that is telling us right from the get-go, this is not real world. This is not real life. This is something that is completely different. It's something completely abstract from anything you've ever seen before. And I'm going to give it that. And Sean, let me just ask you directly: have you ever seen a movie like this?
I don't know if I want to.
No. It's a yes or no, right? Have you? I'm just going to go ahead and hypothetically, where we haven't seen movies like this, where it's
I think this is utterly
cocaine.
Unique. I think it's utterly unique.
Romeo and Juliet,
same director. So,
yeah, but the same idea too.
Right.
Like,
but
I fell in love
also,
with you. We're both like orphans, and at the same time, you get sick and you die. And I died
another
because
level.
of it.
I agree with you 100% because if you look at this is West Side Story. It's Romeo and Juliet. It's the same themes that are present in those movies. Same as Great Gatsby, by the way. Yeah, he likes tragedy. He likes crazy.
So this is actually based off of La Boheme, which is an opera.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, we've got this is what I think is 16th century, 17th century opera, which is basically the root material.
And there was a lot of opera here.
There's a lot of opera, and not only that, but you're talking about this overacting, and I mean that's what opera is, right? At its heart, it's like the soap opera. It's overacting. It's not supposed to be real.
It was just so fucking distracting for me. John Leguizamo to me was so bad. He was so hard to watch. Jim Broadbent and Richard Roxburgh
was so
when they
good.
were doing Like a Virgin, it it almost made it so I wanted to fast forward through the fucking film because I
Broadbent
couldn't.
really did?
Yeah, because I couldn't take the overacting. I couldn't. It was so
But the
caricature
thing
and
was
comic.
is that he's supposed to be that person, like, you know, like the show must go on. He has to carry that weight.
Okay,
you know?
so let me-
This
and
is
let
what that's what I said, is that I cared about Broadbent. I cared about Ziegler so much more watching it again for this, talking about it today, than I ever did when I watched it way back when. Like Ziegler, he cares about Satine. He cares about his legacy. He cares about his Moulin Rouge.
So I bring it
right?
back to a movie we've already done, which is The Birdcage. Okay, so Nathan Lane in that movie was so over the top, so crazy, but he brought it back and anchored the role in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
I don't think that any of the characters anchored in this film anywhere close to reality. Brandon, you preach all the time about how you want
Reality.
movies to be realistic and
Yes.
real. This is just, it's fucking insanity.
You know what? Okay, so I'm gonna let me just talk about this real quick, because I'm gonna go ahead and say you're absolutely right, Sean, which I don't like saying. You're absolutely right.
Can we get that on
I
record? Do we
should-
have that? Do we have that recorded?
Every movie,
here's the
every
thing.
movie.
Here's
Shut up,
the
Brandon.
thing. And-
every movie you don't
and-
like,
and-
that's the number one thing. It's not real enough.
Okay, okay, but Jeremy, maybe Jeremy can back me up on this.
Yeah.
That yes, I love realism. I love to be grounded in realism. I mean, Eddie likes to tease me all the time about The Ring and how it's not realistic. But what it does is, to me, that roots it in real. Here's the thing that I don't like about, let's say, Halloween, without opening that floodgate again, is that it's a movie that's a movie that says, oh, hey, this is grounded in the real world, so care about it, right? To me, this movie, Moulin Rouge, it resembles more of a Middle Earth, where it's like, this is fantasy. This is not the real world. This is something completely abstract from anything that you've ever seen before. It's not supposed to be rooted in the real world.
What about Big
If
Fish?
Halloween had straight up said, hey, this is not supposed to be taken literally, I would love it. Probably.
So I would
But
agree with you, except for the core.
This is not
theme,
real world.
But I would agree with you. But the core theme of this movie, which I think is beautiful and totally relatable, is there is nothing more important or more beautiful than to love and be loved, and that is realistic.
Wait. No. Let me just ask you something, Sean. Lord of the Rings, right? We haven't done it yet, and I'm putting that out there on air for saying that we are going to do it. Okay. Let me just ask you, at the core of Aragorn, we have this relationship with Arwen, right? That is love, and that is not rooted in a world that we can see that resembles anything like our world now. That is Middle Earth. It is completely abstract from anything that we've ever
and
seen.
majesty had been anywhere near Peter Jackson's vision, I think I would be much more. Once again, I'm not against the core fundamentals of this movie. What I am,
What I'm saying is, no. What I'm saying is that you cannot judge the themes as being realistic because they adhere to our real world.
as I watch this movie, I'm consistently assaulted by noise, by color, by overacting, there's so many negatives in every scene.
Have you seen Australia
Yes.
with Nicole Kidman? Okay, it does the same thing for the first 45 minutes,
I
right?
don't agree.
It does the
So
same
what
thing
was
for
the
the
main-
Greatest Showman as
so
well. It's
it does
just
the same
so
thing,
in
yeah.
the face
What
and
was the
everything.
main reason
yo.
why you don't like The Great Gatsby then?
It does the same thing for the Great Gatsby.
But
The
you
problem
put that on
with
the very
Great
bottom of the
Gatsby is
list.
that it doesn't consistently get better. With Moulin Rouge, I would
It gets
argue
better.
that it consistently
It
gets
does
better.
get better.
It does.
Moulin Rouge does get better, for sure. From about an hour in to an hour and 5 minutes when it's over,
Yeah, that's what I said.
it does get better.
I watched the
Right,
second
and
half
I
of
know
this
that
movie.
that's not a joke, right, Sean? I mean,
No,
I get what you're
no,
saying.
legitimately.
Right,
And the
it's-
song
yeah,
that you
it's legitimately
and your
better.
favorite song, Brandon, which is Roxanne, and that whole section, to me, was distracting because that guy's voice was terrible.
Okay.
But
let me-
hold on.
yeah.
But let me just finish. But that whole section, probably 4 or 5 minute choreographed performance, was magnificent. It was really good.
So-
let me clarify real quick that Roxanne is literally my least favorite song in the world. I hate it with an absolute passion.
You don't have to
I
sell
hate
your body
I hate
to
the
the
Police's
night.
version.
Roger,
I
you
hate
sang it.
Sting's
You
version.
used to sing it.
I'm sorry, dude. This is where I disagree on Brandon on that.
Okay, so
Fucking
I
Police Roxanne is a fucking treasure of a
Great
song, dude.
Great.
so
great.
so it's good to know that Jeremy's wrong. That Jeremy,
Hey, Brandon.
I love you, Jeremy.
Brandon.
I love you.
Nobody believes you.
Yeah, no, listen,
Everyone's against
But no,
you.
I agree with.
But no, what I'm saying is to me, Roxanne by the Police is a terrible song. What this movie does is it grounds it in context. And
Yes,
we
yes,
don't talk a whole lot
yes, you're
about
right about that.
specifics.
I
here.
actually think this movie does a very good job of grounding a lot of songs in context. I think most of the songs, except for Like a Virgin, really hit home well. I think they really do.
But I think the
So-
Like Virgin
so, yeah.
also did it like really well too because it made you feel uncomfortable. And that
It
song
makes you feel really
and
uncomfortable.
then, when you think about the song is fucking kind of uncomfortable,
But
man.
that's not what I
Yeah.
go to see a movie for.
No,
I do not
but-
go to
but-
see a
but-
movie to be uncomfortable. I'm sorry.
But also,
But
Sean,
you
you and I have established early on that you and I see movies differently. I want to see. I like to feel something, whether it be uncomfort or excitement or horror or
Discomfort.
something, right? Discomfort, yeah. But no,
You
no.
say that for
so
Armageddon.
go back to.
yeah. Armageddon.
No,
you
no,
don't
no,
wanna
no,
watch
time out,
that?
time out,
Derek, get on my back, buddy.
You
Get on my
can't
back. I'll
bring
carry you.
in that
The end of the
fucking
world
movie in.
didn't do it for you, huh? You ain't filling up in there.
First of all, you're talking about a movie that you have to be on drugs and shit like that. That had
do not
nothing.
get on the movie. You have to be on drugs to enjoy it. This one is
Just
the top.
I'm not
imagine
saying
Moulin
it enjoy
Rouge.
it. Yeah.
Just imagine
Yeah,
watching
but
Moulin
Moulin
Rouge
Rouge.
on mushrooms.
I didn't understand it sober. I could not imagine. I mean, honestly, I'm sorry, Eddie. I don't mean to cut you
No,
off.
you go ahead.
But this movie was it. I got to a point where I actually had to turn the volume down and put subtitles on because it was so fucking loud. I'm like, I can't sit
Yeah.
here any longer.
So, like literally in my notes, I have it's a fever dream, drug-induced high, and that's literally how I feel
Well,
it
that's
is.
how I want to
But
spend
what-
my Saturday night.
But here's the thing,
No,
okay?
you know,
No, Sean, I'm going to be dead serious, and then we can move on to just happier things. But I think that if we really look at movies and we look at moviegoers, okay, and listeners out there, you can definitely weigh in and email us, please. But there are two different schools of thought. And Sean and I we sit on each other, like we don't sit on each other. That's weird.
Yeah,
But
don't
we
sit on me, bro.
That's what she said.
Sean sits on me. I'm just
Well,
saying.
that's what he said.
But what I'm saying is right. You either take Sean's side, which is that movies and film are an escape, and I totally understand that, or you take the other side, which is where I'm at, which is that movies are a way to understand our world just a little bit better. Even if that's a form of escape, it locks into the psychology. So you can do one or the other, right? You can look at movies and say that a movie sucks because it doesn't let me escape into some better, happier world, right? It's definitely more positive. It's more half full. Where I like the serious stuff. I like the gritty realism, but I also like the fantastical that makes me feel something. I don't care what the hell it is. This movie,
Sean, you like
Moulin
that
Rouge,
too, though.
makes me feel something.
Yeah, I think you're overstating the dichotomy. I enjoy a movie that is entertaining and we can learn something.
But you also like positive.
I do like positive. I also like negative. One of my favorite movies of all time is The Cure, by a long shot. I like the gritty, real drama of it. I am entertained by learning something about the story. In this movie, I don't like to be assaulted by bad acting, bad plot, bad characters. That's not what I like in a movie.
I don't think you can say there's bad acting.
There's no bad acting in this because this is supposed to be all over the top in this
Over the
movie.
top.
I agree with Sean. I feel like almost if I would blink at the wrong time, I would miss something with this movie.
I feel like if you guys are about the Greatest Showman, which is the same fucking concept and everything like that, then you have to be
it's
like
about
you know,
5 seconds slower per scene. In which
Yeah, I would
agree.
say that The Greatest Showman is 30% slower.
much I
So
agree with you
let me
sometimes.
ask you this.
But
Let
you
me-
guys are wait.
yeah.
I try to catch up.
But the
I
thing
was
is
trying to catch
that
up
you're
with
not
the
saying
whole
that the
movie.
acting was good. I'm sorry. You keep saying Jim was like not good. His fucking parts when he was just like stripped down regarding to his feelings and whatnot. That was some good fucking acting. And if you see the passion between Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman, that's great acting. In that Roxanne song, seriously, you may not like it because it's very filthy. It's very gross. It makes you feel uncomfortable. He's putting his passion into that song.
To be clear.
And that song,
Cinematographically,
seriously,
it is amazing.
To be clear, my problem is not with Nicole Kidman, not with Ewan McGregor. My problem is with Jim Broadbent, and my problem is with Richard Roxburgh as the Duke and John Leguizamo. And I think it's all about the voice that they chose to embody their character with. They were they did not. There are so many great Jim Broadbent is a great fucking actor. I don't mean to bring up Harry Potter because that's not his best performance in the world because it's Harry Potter. But there's a scene where he's talking about Lily's goldfish in number 6, and it is absolutely enthralling. This scene is amazing. He's got the capacity to hold the audience on the tip of his tongue, and in this I felt like he did not.
I have to disagree with you this on Sean, because I feel like every scene he captured that scene, and you know what, you felt what he was talking about. You felt his emotions. If it was going over the top, which it was, then that's what he was meant to do. If he was supposed to be like just, if you see this calm when he's having like this kind of a father situation with Satine, you felt that felt real. So yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Sean. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, Baz Luhrmann is an acquired taste for people.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like it's either hit or miss. Like that shit it's confusing. It's fucking crazy. But that was the whole point of the fucking film of that time period.
Hold on, Brandon, go ahead.
No, I was just personally, it was more for me, like, he did Romeo and Juliet, right? He did that
Romeo plus Juliet.
Romeo, yeah. So the one with Leo.
Yeah, one with Leo and Claire Danes.
I don't know why, but I feel like that, I was expecting that, and it like I didn't get that.
I feel like if we watch Romeo plus Juliet or Romeo and Juliet, we're gonna have the same problem.
No. See, can I tell you why I don't think we're gonna have the same problem, or why at least I'm not gonna have the same problem?
Because it's not
because it's
music.
set. No, I don't care about the musical, but it's not. It's set against one of the greatest fucking written pieces in all mankind.
Disagree.
Okay, you can
Romeo and
disagree.
Juliet sucks.
Shakespeare is
call
the
William
preeminent writer of the
I'm
world.
not talking about the writing.
Agreed.
I'm talking about the
Agreed.
directorial vision and everything.
But what
like
I'm
that.
saying, directorial vision is set against a story that is time out of mind. You know the story. You know what's going to happen.
But Sean, you know this story as well. This
You know it's
tragic
gonna end the
story
same.
here. You know that
He
it's going to
tells
end the
us right
same.
from the
Exactly.
get-go that she dies.
Oh no, I knew she was gonna die. I had no dispositions about her dying. My problem, once again, was not with Ewan McGregor or with Nicole Kidman. It was with the supporting cast. The morons that went around in his group with the guy in the bowler hat, and they just
That's
ruined
so
it.
funny
for
because
him.
they're
that's
so
people like
minuscule.
that. To me, it's just like every scene or group that you ever been involved with, there's fucking people like that, and that's how they act, and that's how they actually present themselves. You're seeing that, you're just like, God, these people are over the top, because you know why? They're actually fucking doing the real
I feel
people.
like it was at elementary school.
And I'm gonna say this.
There's a new
This
kid in
is-
block, and then
Sorry.
there was this new elementary school kid, and there was all these new kids around there. I feel like all these random kids running around. I feel like it was elementary school.
And I will say this a little bit. Okay, so
you're right, dude.
he is right. My experience in life is as far from bohemian as it can be. I don't have very much experience with these type of people that you're talking about, and I know you're a gypsy. I mean, at the end of the day, you've changed your lifestyle a lot.
Thank you.
and it's wonderful. I'm not diminishing it.
No.
I'm saying this is what you've experienced. I have experienced particularly zero of this. And Brandon has always wanted to be a gypsy, so he dives
dude.
into this.
Brandon,
To me,
you don't live the gypsy life.
Don't live it.
This
I will
overt
not.
not
No.
knowing what you're going to do with your life, the overt going to the city because you want to write and fall in love, it makes me want to puke. And that, I think, really did create a block for me to get into this
And
movie.
then that's the thing is, like, I guess that's probably the difference is, like, I can understand that because I can relate that because I wanted the same thing. But at the same time, I'm looking back at it right now, I'm just like, fuck, it does make me sick. You know, it's just like, fuck. And in the end, it does make Ewan McGregor sick. He loses a part of himself in this whole situation regarding to his soul and regarding to the love of what he, like, you know, what he lost, and which is the innocence of what he has.
And just let's be
what he
clear,
had.
Nicole Kidman, she has syphilis and also
is it
tuberculosis.
No,
syphilis? I
she's
thought it
got
was
tuberculosis.
TB, but a little
Yeah, she
bit.
got
I mean,
TB.
I wouldn't be
So
surprised.
wait,
Who knows
I
what
wanna-
else?
I wanna-
Who knows what other SC? Hold on.
So
hold
he
on,
also
Brandon, hold on,
has.
hold on.
Then he also. I mean, you can't stand around someone that long who has, you know, it's like 25% chance you're gonna get TB
But he
as well.
didn't even know about that. That's the thing, too.
Well, why
Which is
not?
selfish of
And
her.
nobody did. Nobody did. No, I want to ask
it
you though.
wasn't selfish
Just,
for her because they lied to her that, you know, she didn't know she was dying. They're like, yo, by the way, you are dying. She didn't know anything about it.
let me ask you just. I want to take it away from the kind of the overall picture. I want to look at more of a specific moment, and that is the songs. And the songs we've already talked about that we've established that the songs are brilliant. To me, and I want to just kind of get your feedback on this. To me, there has not been a better use of song as Your Song by Elton John in this movie compared to Tiny Dancer in Almost Famous. To me, that they're the equivalent of basically taking a moment and relating to that moment through a song, right? I can't listen to Your Song by Elton John or Tiny Dancer by Elton John. I can't think of these songs. I can't listen to them without imagining and remembering these film moments.
But you're lucky to experience that, Brandon, because unfortunately this is like my second or third time seeing this film. And mind you, yes, it's fucking great, but I have had Almost Famous 20 years of that scene. And maybe you have a chance to put those things in the next level, man, but that scene in Almost Famous, man, every time I can even think about that puts a fucking tear to my eyes, because it's like every time I hear Tiny Dancer, that's the scene that I think about, dude. So,
and I think that if we ask all four of us, and I'm going to speak just for all four of us, and disagree with me if you want, the scene in Almost Famous with Tiny Dancer is probably the most affecting moment in music and movies that I think that we can experience as viewers.
Well, I think this. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say I'm not gonna say it's as intense as Tiny Dancer, because Tiny Dancer to me is, Jeremy, you're right. It brings a tear to my eyes. I can't hear that song without thinking of Almost Famous, and I can't think of that song without seeing the bus and seeing the air drumming and the air guitaring and the singing. I can't see it without Kate Hudson sitting in a bus.
But the thing is,
it almost is your song. It almost is your song with Ewan McGregor.
No, I agree with you 100%, because every time I think of your song now, I'm going to be thinking about this movie. And I think basically, maybe whoever was the music supervisor to this film or whatnot took a lesson from Almost Famous to capture the moment with music. In the end of this, that's true.
Saturday Night Fever.
And at the end of this day, this is a love letter to music. Simple as that. Regarding to where you're coming from, and regarding to regarding to the film and everything like that.
Well, and there are moments in movies, and this is why we do the podcast, because it's fun to fucking talk about this shit. Mm-hmm. But there are certain songs in movies that are synonymous. They become one, right? So Risky Business, Old Time Rock and Roll, when he slides out, dun, 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 dun,
Phil
that
Collins.
fucking song, there's probably 10 or 20 moments in movies where you can specifically tie a song to, like you said, effect. It brings you right back to
that. When you hear
moment.
that song, you come back to that moment in that movie.
The Banana Boat song in Beetlejuice. You've got
you're right, dude. You're right.
Yeah, you've got certain moments. Staying Alive in Saturday Night Fever. You've got moments. In
Footloose,
movies,
for some reason,
Footloose.
Footloose.
Never can tell. You never can tell from Pulp Fiction when they're doing the.
Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club. Don't you forget about me. I don't want to miss a thing from Armageddon. There are certain moments that Bittersweet Symphony from the Cruel Intentions. That was one of my.
Good choice on that one.
Yeah, but what I'm reading from a list, but I will say that these moments, these moments build from something that is more than just the song and the characters. That the reason that our song works in this movie, the reason that this movie Moulin Rouge produces such an affect, is because the characters drive you there.
Agree. Yeah.
And I think that's why this movie is not a 5. This is why this movie is not a total train wreck, is because you have this great story between Satine and Christian. You have this great love story that builds to a crescendo. I am distracted by 80% of the superfluous bullshit that takes to get you there.
Very well said for me.
No, I see what you're saying, Sean.
I understand, yeah.
But the thing what I'm talking about is that even though that we're in the midst of like the craziness around us and surrounds us and everything like that, there's a moment where you can just capture that one moment where you fall in love, and that moment lasts for a lifetime, even though the shit and the craziness surrounds you and whatnot. And that's basically what I got of that film. Like in that whole crazy scene, they were able to find one another during that time.
I'm just going to go ahead and pause right now and just tell you guys, I love you guys.
I love you guys too.
I love this, and I love this. And you
I
can
do.
edit this out or you can keep it in, but I would love to keep doing this fucking talk.
And to be honest,
as long as I'm alive.
every season I do enjoy. I love you too, Brandon.
And
every season I do like to do musicals. A couple musicals.
I agree.
You have to do it because I feel like it's good to music and movies.
And-
Like they go hand in hand with each other. You can't
Hand
think
in
of-
hand.
You can't
That's a good
go.
point,
You can't
bro.
go with
Yeah.
other one.
And I think we do a pretty good job on this podcast of mixing old movies, new movies. I think that we really need to keep introducing people to movies that aren't necessarily always mainstream.
Aren't always mainstream, yeah.
Because as much as I give you shit, Brandon, about like The Fountain or some of your horrible selections, those movies, they also have good themes, good parts, good aspects.
There's
to
good
them.
parts,
Right.
yeah.
And I think that like this movie, okay, like if I was going to tell someone, oh, you got to go watch Moulin Rouge. I don't know if I'd ever say that to someone. But I would say, if you've watched a bunch of different movies, this movie is a completely different perspective. If you had never seen a movie in your life, okay?
Yeah.
I would never say go watch Moulin Rouge.
No, but if I was going to say, hey, if you're into musicals, why don't you try this movie out?
Right.
Tell me what you think about
Yeah,
it.
I'm curious to know
Yeah.
what you say,
Yeah.
what you bring from what you take from this movie. This is The Fringe, right? So if you've got on one side you've got the most mundane
You got
musical.
Casablanca.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
Casablanca is one of the greatest movies.
No,
ever made.
and you know, Sean,
Yeah.
but I love
Lawrence of
I love
Arabia. I mean,
Casablanca.
if you've got Godfather, if you have all the greatest movies
Yes.
ever made on one side, this is on the fringe of. This might not be the greatest movie, but
This
this
is
still is impactful.
abstract.
Right.
Very much
It's
so.
it's abstract, and you know what I love about this movie is that it's intentionally abstract. And here's what Baz Luhrmann is able to do, and I don't think that it's accident, is that he intentionally goes for that fringe and he succeeds. Right? He gets to the point that he's trying to get to. He knows for a fact that he doesn't have the ability to do something that is The Godfather. He can't make The Godfather, and what he does instead is he says, okay, well, I'm going to make. I hate to keep saying it. I think it's the fourth time I said it tonight, but he makes a music video that's 2 hours long, and he makes us give a shit about some of the peculiarities, I guess, not even specifics, but the peculiarities about that music video. Right? He intentionally says, "Hey, this is abstract art. This is the Jackson Pollock
And not to
to
keep,
the
not to-
Leonardo da Vinci."
and not to bounce off you, but I'm not a huge Ryan Murphy fan, but I don't
Right.
think there's a Ryan Murphy without Baz Luhrmann. All right,
Yeah.
take us home.
Definitely. That brings us to the end of our review. Now it's time in the podcast where each of the hosts provides his score on the following scale. Eddie, can you please provide our scale?
Yes. 0, the perfect movie. You don't need shit to enjoy it. 1, a feel-good first cocktail. 2, a happy buzz. 3, you're gonna Uber or Lyft in home. 4, rough morning to walk of shame. 5, blackout, shit face, spring break drunk.
Spring break drunk.
I will start with myself. So this movie, like I said, I mean, for it to be able to, it's a movie that it's definitely it's a musical that I recommend seeing it. No matter what, you have to experience this movie. I personally, it's like one of those movies that I'll probably watch it once and maybe another time if my wife wants to see it with me. It's not one of those my favorite musicals. But you know, I like the second half of the movie. The first half of the movie, I was lost. It didn't help that maybe I was also like pouring myself a drink, and I feel like I looked up and I was like, "Whoa!" I looked back down, drank again, looked back up. Whoa! Wait, how many people are in this movie? Like a million? Like
A million.
Yeah, I felt like there was a dance scene right. I mean, it was all over the place. So I got lost too fast, and I had to like pause it and rewind it a couple times. I was like, "What did I just miss?" I felt like I missed something. I always felt like I missed something with this movie. And so if you do watch this movie, definitely take your time, be ready. You have your snacks and drinks before you sit down. And definitely don't drink abstinence with this movie because you will trip out with this movie.
You might wake up next week.
Yeah, it's a love story, and this is it's a whole bunch of love songs that make up a love story in the movie itself, and it's a beautiful movie within that. I felt really hard to give this. I was trying to rate this score when I was watching it because I really enjoyed like Nicole Kidman. She was amazing. I felt like this was her time of era of movies, and she was like I think she won something too for this. Didn't she win something?
No,
for
she
this
was
award?
nominated.
She was nominated
for an
an
Academy
Oscar or
Award.
Academy Award. And then Ian McGregor, he is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I mean he's always soft to the heart because of that. So he always has my heart. But I mean, everyone else, I kind of agree with Sean. It's like I don't really care for anyone else in the movie. Almost that's personally, and It's one of those movies that I almost don't feel comfortable. It's a movie you watch with your significant other, and that's it. I don't watch it with my kids. I don't think they will be able to grasp it. I enjoyed it at times. It took me a couple of drinks to finish this movie, to be honest. So I'm gonna give this a 2.8. Just below an average movie.
2.8.
Yeah.
2.8.
Yeah, what is that on the scale?
That's a happy buzz with a shot and a slurp.
Yeah.
The slurp.
A big old slurp.
Just below if you're gonna Uber or Lyft home. So I'm a happy buzz with a shot and a slurp.
Brandon, go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to be honest and say that this movie is a movie that I've seen 3 or 4 times. First time I saw it, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then I settled into it and I said, ooh, this is good. And it was, ooh, this is good because I was in high school and it was the music and I was like, ooh, there's Nirvana and it mixes with, Marilyn Monroe and the montage and the medleys that they put together are just, to me, they're brilliant. Then I saw it again, and I mentioned it before. I saw it for grad school when we were looking at intertextuality and looking at how this built off of the story of La Boheme, which is also built off of Rent as the musical, and then it kind of brings into this. And that's just a whole lot of saying.
25,600
minutes. Right?
I just watched
so
it.
It's this concept that I remember watching. I remember thinking, ooh, this movie is brilliant, because we were looking at it much more analytically. Similar to the way that I was trying to look at it for this podcast. And I'm going to be honest, for the first 15 minutes, I was like, holy fuck, I don't remember this being so batshit crazy bad. And I'm not saying that it really redeemed itself all the way, because unlike Gatsby, unlike Australia especially, those movies start off crazy, frenetic, and then they kind of settle in. This one doesn't ever really settle in, and I think that's what makes it great, but also at the same time makes it frustrating. And so I think that the performances are perfect. I think that Nicole Kidman is brilliant. I do think that John Leguizamo. I think that Richard Roxburgh. I think that what's his name, Sean, the one that you can't stand right now. Why can't I think of Jim Broadbent?
By the
Jim
way.
Broadbent.
Don't ever say. I met Jim
thought
Broadbent in London at the train station. He's a wonderful human being and a great actor.
Put it this way, Broadbent, to me, he brought so much more to this role than I think he should have. And I don't think could have. I think it should have. He gives us emotion. He gives us reason behind Ziegler being an asshole, or at least seemingly an asshole. Is this a perfect movie? Very, very far from it. Does this have problems? Absolutely a ton. Is this an enjoyable movie that I'll sit down and watch at least parts of it? Absolutely. We talk about this podcast being about how a movie influences cinema. You've mentioned it, Sean. This movie influences cinema. Do I think it does it all great? No, I think that I prefer a much more realistic, simple storytelling approach. I'm going to give it a 2.25, which I think is probably a little bit high. But I think it's a little bit high, but ultimately I do think that that's where it deserves to be. So it's a happy buzz, and it's just a little bit of a half a shot.
All right. Okay, I'll go next. For me, this movie had a couple of different aspects that I thought were positive and negative. The first positive aspect of it, I will start with positive, is that I think Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor, fantastic. I think the music was absolutely out of this world good. I think that the way that they mash songs together and they use lyrics in the dialogue was just unparalleled. But at the end of the day, what I couldn't get over, and what's going to impact my score the most, is the fact that I felt like I was sitting on the couch constantly being barraged with sounds and visuals that didn't match what I thought was a very heartfelt story. The concept of a lowly poet falling in love with, the star of a show and being torn away by a duke who was trying to finance the musical. That whole concept to me was very attractive. I couldn't fucking focus on it because all I could think about was these horrid characters overacting and being just in your face. And that just didn't work for me. If they had dialed it back 20%, I think this would have been a much more watchable movie. As to Brandon's point, whether or not this movie fulfills the mandate and impacts cinema, I think greatly. I think it shows directors that they can take risks and that they can do things that they wouldn't have done before, and that it has shaped how movies have been made after. Mm-hmm. I don't think it did it successfully. I think it showed directors the boundary. Don't go too far. Don't Baz Luhrmann it up. Don't Moulin Rouge it.
That's fair.
But I think that's still valuable because I think that other westerns have done that. Other films, genres have done that. There are limits to where directors can push things. David Lynch is a perfect example. I think he pushes the envelope every day. Sometimes he pushes the envelope too far. I think Baz Luhrmann pushed the envelope too far, at least for me. I'm going to give this movie a 3. And when I started this podcast, it was a 4. But
good.
You guys have talked me back.
Talked me down too.
You guys have talked me back. I will say that what saved it for me was Ewan McGregor's wonderful voice in singing songs with passion and emotion.
With
and
passion,
honestly,
yes.
the songs that I thought were fluff, like Beatles, "All You Need Is Love," I never thought that was a great song.
All you need is love.
But when he uses the lyrics, and he uses a couple of lyrics from
He
that
says
song,
it, just keeps saying, and he keeps saying it.
and it just is like, oh,
Yeah.
like how stupid are you? All you fucking need is love. Nothing else matters. Love is the only thing that matters. And when you break it down that simply, I think it's important. I think it's beautiful. The Beatles are one of my favorite bands. I know you're a Stones man, Brandon, but I want to hold your hand.
Yeah.
All you need is love. These
I
are like
love the Stones.
just simple truths.
But I've actually appreciated the Beatles more and more
and
as I get older.
It makes you feel good about the story. So I'll stay there. I gave my score. Jeremiah.
Jerry, give us your
Listen,
thoughts.
guys, I agree with everything and everyone that's been saying about this movie. I mean, just hands down, I'm not a Baz Luhrmann fan. I don't like his directing. I think it's just too fucking in your face sometimes to the point where you lose the center of the story most of the time. But for this film, I came into it just going like, okay, what am I getting myself into? And I said it before, this is a love letter to music. It's a love letter to musicals. And that's what I got out of this film. I think this film, in a lot of ways, brought Rawls down for musicals to do something differently. With this, you don't have Chicago, or with this, you don't have
Burlesque.
Burlesque, yeah, burlesque, or you don't have like all the other things like here, like Hamilton or something like that. Because I think this movie broke down its wall. This movie seriously made over hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and it was only one of the very few musicals that's been nominated for an Oscar. I mean, just it is what it is. It broke down that wall. Does it make it a great movie? Absolutely not.
Maybe it didn't age well for me.
But that's the thing. This happened. This was made in the millennials, regarding where everything was just so fast and upbeat and everything like that. But what the center of this movie is this love story, and this love story that's it for me. And when I saw Uma McGregor and Nicole Kidman at the end of the movie, where she dies. If you haven't seen it, that's your fault for not seeing it.
Spoiler.
Yeah. However, when you see Uma McGregor is just crying, I fucking cried my eyes out because I thought, what if your love just died right there and then? Everything that you love so much, it's gone away. And that got to me so much. And if a movie gets to me like that much or something like that, regarding to how you feel, then it did something for me, yo. So regarding to this, I don't think it's the greatest movie ever, but I don't think it's the worst movie ever. So for me, this is a solid 2. Because you know why? This had every song that I just love, and they did it something in a different way that I've never seen before. So that's why I'm actually putting this as a 2, guys.
When you take those scores and divide by 4, Eddie, what does Moulin Rouge?
What does
get
Moulin Road 1?
score?
The average score is 2.5125.
2.5125. And Jeremiah, where does that put us on our list of movies that we have?
Sometimes.
Ooh, that's a new one.
What is it?
It's right between The Hangover and Rocky.
Go ahead, Sean, say it.
Right below Grease
No,
as well.
Rocky and Hangover have the same fucking score.
No.
No. they
No.
don't.
No, they don't.
Oh, yeah.
Hangover has
Somebody
2.5.
screwed up on that.
What is it?
So it's a 2 point what?
2.5125.
Okay.
So it's in the so I screwed up on that. So it's in the 20.
No, I think that's probably exactly where it should be.
because look at this right
It's
here.
close
Like
to
right next to the
Grease.
movies that are next to it is Grease. And you also got The Greatest Showman. They're like right next to each other and whatnot.
So this is a little worse than Grease and Greatest Showman. A little better than Clueless, 300, V for Vendetta, The Ring.
And with the
Why is V
fear
for
of
Vendetta
sounding
so
like
close?
Sean right now, I think that's actually a good place for it. I
Why
think that
is
it's
V for
not as
Vendetta
good as
so
the
low.
Because it was a bad movie.
because it's a damn good movie.
no, it's seriously, it's almost above average movie.
Yeah.
You know,
It's above
here's
it,
the
yeah.
thing. A 2.5 is an average movie on
2.5125.
And it's right.
2.5 is an average movie.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a little below average, but I think it's right at average.
It's average,
and here's the thing that we have to kind of think about with our list is that we're mixing genres, we're mixing
Opinions.
Decades.
different decades. But when you look at these, and I'm looking at our list, it's so interesting, right? So The Hangover, Terminator, Scream,
Clueless,
but Grease. All of these movies were pioneer movies. V for Vendetta, The Ring. They all redefined a genre. They weren't perfect, but they redefined what they were trying to accomplish in cinema.
And this movie's above all those movies.
Right. So what I'm saying is,
crazy.
This whole group in the 2.5s, these average movies, they led to the movies at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Oh, real quick.
Yeah.
Cinematographically, I think this movie did really well, and I do think that it would have probably benefited from Brian Cox being there, but ultimately, it's not Point Break.
I do think that's true.
Well, I believe he was on Born Identity, actually, which is
originally this movie. I was gonna put it below The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna
you guys
put it
talked me
below
down.
The Great Gatsby.
So you guys did talk.
So if you enjoyed our review or are a fan of the podcast, we ask you please subscribe wherever you're listening and give us a 5-star review on iTunes. You can find us on Instagram at the.gentlemanpodcast. The dot means a lot. You can visit our website at thegentlemanpodcast.com. And if you want to, you can reach out by email at hosts with an S, HOSTS, at thegentlemanpodcast.com. Jeremiah, what do we have next episode 2 weeks from today?
With this, we're going to actually keep our individual selection, and we're going to actually go with Brandon's pick.
For the 2000s.
Yes, he's going to go old school. Very, very Spartacus, and it's going to be very epic, very bloody, very dirty, very
Are you guys entertained?
Russell Crowe.
Are you entertained?
So let me just tell you, I have never seen this movie.
What we do in life echoes.
Have you
ever watched this movie?
Sean,
Eternity.
Sean, look at me real quick.
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
You're welcome.
So next episode is The Gladiator, or just
Yes,
Gladiator.
the 2000
There's Gladiator.
Gladiator.
This was on my list like 5 times. I keep taking it off. I'm so happy that Brandon had it. Thank you,
So-
Brandon.
So happy
That'll
to do
be
this one.
that'll round out our individual choices for the 2000s.
Absolutely. Then we have our group selection.
Then we have a group selection.
which we are going to actually keep it hidden because it's going to be a very surprise.
But then I will say this: then the episode after that,
Are we going to James Bond?
we are going to do a fucking James Bond movie.
It's
I'll
about
see it.
time
which
that
is
we
my
screw this script up.
2010s pick.
I'll see it when I see it, bro.
Eddie, let me ask you, Eddie, are you ready to change your script?
I'm scared. I'm a little bit scared. So I'm like, I've been doing this for how many episodes now?
This is like our 60-something
70th episode. We've done 70
Yeah,
episodes.
this is like over 70 episodes
71,
right now.
72
So
episodes.
yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome.
Just change
But
up
you know
my
what?
wording.
Audience, listeners, be a part of it, man. Share us.
And I think we should do like a countdown to James Bond. I think we should do a countdown to the 2010s.
It better be like the best.
Selection.
It better be like the best James Bond movie of all time.
It better
of all
be.
the-
It better be our highest rated episode. That's all I'm saying. That's on
Make
you,
that
viewers.
happen,
That's on you,
guys. Make that
listeners.
happen.
Well, personally, have Gladiator be one of the best. If not this one, Moulin
Gladiator's
Rouge.
Watch,
gonna be
it'll be
good.
our least popular episode.
That's not going to happen.
Bro,
All right,
Gladi-
guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks with what movie?
Gladiator.
Gladiator.
Buttons. Oh, that's the wrong movie.
All right. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Brandon.
Cheers.
Brandon, was that our best one yet?
God damn, that was really, really good. That might have been best.
I miss
No,
you.
we broke it down, man. We broke it
Okay,
down.
so
We did.
let's just go ahead and stop this.
All right, here we go.